Thanks for joining us this morning as we review the TV series Star Wars The Acolyte, otherwise known as...
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Absolutely. Totally. Something's not right. It's not a moon. It's a wreck. It's a total wreck. But wait, there's more. Because the series is so awful, we're not going to spend much time on it. Instead, we're going to discover the responses to give, counter arguments to a twisted philosophy. We're going to take a quick look at what's happened to the Star Wars franchise. Is it dead? Should it have been killed long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away? And then we're going to see how the death of some things in entertainment gives us hope. So it's a full plate today, and we're hitting it on all sensors. But before we go on, please take a moment and like and subscribe this channel. And I can't tell you how much this helps out because, we're accumulating, we're growing and stuff like this. We're reaching a larger audience. And that's what the hope is for this, is that we can get this message out to more people. And you guys are a part of that too. So that's a huge thing. Star Wars The Acolyte, a review. So what is The Acolyte all about?
That is a great question.
It is a great question. The title card of the opening scene states, 100 years before the rise of the Empire, it is a time of peace. The Jedi Order and Galactic Republic have prospered for centuries without war. But in the dark corners of the galaxy, a powerful few learn to use the Force in secret. One of them, a lone assassin, risks discovery to seek revenge.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. In other words, the main plot of this series is a detective novel in space.
Wait, so the assassin, who's obviously assassinating people, is using the Force for revenge?
That's never been talked about before.
But that sounds like a Sith. That falls in line with the whole Sith mentality.
Yes, that's right. Yes, there is a dark side to this whole thing, and that's a big part of it. And then the question is, when you're watching it, this one group that's in this corner of the galaxy that's hidden away, are they good or are they not? There's a light side of the Force and a dark side of the Force. And we'll get to the moral conundrum later. We're going to dig into that. It's one of the main questions that we're going to ask about this series. The series is set at the end of the Star Wars franchise High Republic era, about 100 years before Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. The Acolyte follows the respected Jedi Master as he investigates a series of crimes. This investigation leads him to a former Padawan learner and uncovers sinister forces at play. So it's a bit of a mystery. So you're seeing this from actually 3 different points of view. You're seeing it from the detective's point of view, you're seeing it from the assassin's point of view, and you're seeing it from the assassin's twin. And I will tell you right off the bat that we are going into spoiler territory. I said that before, and I'll put the spoiler warning up right here because there's the premise actually does work a bit. So you can investigate this. This is not just looking at. What's different about this too is you're in Star Wars. The wars part is taken out. That you're just looking at events, smaller events that are happening that don't lead into.
So this is just Star.
This is just Star.
This is just Star. No
Detective.
wars.
Star Detective.
Star Detective.
Yes.
Conan. Star Detective. Okay.
So
I could have got behind a title like that. That would have been interesting.
So why is this series so awful? They've only released the first 3 episodes in what the creators call the gayest Star Wars ever. And
I think they might have a slight agenda.
Well, yes, and we know they've come out and they said flat out what their agenda is, and it's pretty insidious. I was a kid back in 1977 when the first Star Wars movie hit the theaters, and at that time, the gayest movie ever had an entirely different meaning. But it still fits here, as intended by both its creators and as it was used in 1977. And just to make sure I'm clear, you understand what the term "the gayest movie ever" would have been in 1977?
Yes, it would have been funny.
Well, it means lame. It was that's
lame at that point.
That's gay.
I don't know. It changed so many
well,
times.
I know. I wouldn't expect you to know, but back then it was just like that's stupid. That's lame.
I know the original was like gay meant happy.
Oh yeah. Well,
Gay
back
man.
like in the 1920s and stuff, it would have been something.
So if it would have been a gay movie back then, it would have been a happy movie.
That's true.
Or funny movie.
That's true, but not when Star Wars originally came out. If someone said that's a gay movie, that would have been either actually homosexual or it's just lame, stupid. And so that I think that would apply for this here in our current era. So why? It's not just the creators that make sure the primary characters were gay. And we have there's an image here of these are the mothers of the main characters since they're twins. It's not only that, it's that white men were rare and most of the Jedi were female. Well, they were just taking, a snapshot of just a certain section of the community or whatever. And that's cool. It just happens to be that way, right? What?
Well, small issue. Okay, so if we take a snapshot of the group, you look at the council, the Jedi Council, and
right.
the first three movies where they showed Phantom Menace and so forth, chronologically, first three.
Right.
They are majority men.
Right.
There's, I think, one woman on the council, but majority men.
Okay.
In fact, all the Jedi that are shown, it's majority men in every case, except for one or two women here or there. So they were there, but the majority was men.
Right.
It just seems like a bit of fabrication.
Well, it's no surprise that there is intention on Disney's side, Kathleen Kennedy, to flip it. I mean, she did say that the Force is female, or did have the T-shirts that said the Force is female. This is the actual culmination, or at least the next step in that process. Now, am I just being, somehow my ego has been hurt because I'm a dude and they're turning the whole thing lame and gay and making it female? No, it's just that you to point out the agenda. This is actually what's happening. So the characters themselves, let's take a quick shot of the characters. This is not all of them, but you get an idea, get a flavor of where things are going. You got the Wookiee there. It's hard. I don't know if I've ever seen a female Wookiee, but this is a guy. The Wookiee's a guy.
Okay, I better say, how can you tell?
I don't know. It's all furry.
It's like, cousin It.
That's right. That's in there. So it's not just that the main characters are gay. It's not that you have a slant sex is more female, practically all female, and there's a few guys that are in there. And it's not just that the female Padawan trainee is smarter than a fully trained male knight and constantly puts him in his place. This guy right here, that's the guy on the left, and the Padawan on the right. He's the knight, she's the Padawan, and she keeps on telling him what to do and things like that. And he just pretty much listens. It's not all those things. It's what happens in the third episode that really pulls the trigger. It reveals all. And before I get into what happens in the third episode that was just released less than 48 hours ago, it was on Tuesday night that was released. I'm going to take a quick look at the comments, and I want to invite you guys too on the comments to chime in. So Davo said, like how gay meant in the Flintstones.
Talking about
back
when you
no, I think they were saying like the 1920s, something that's gay, not necessarily lame, because that was like 1960s when the Flintstones, early 70s when they came out, not later 70s. The Flintstones didn't mean lame. That's what Thomas said. Yeah. The Flintstones meant happy. Yes. Yeah. Even as recently as that, that's where the term has changed like 3 different times in my lifetime. And Thomas Hall said, "Is this Disney Plus?"
Yes.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. Let me just say that I'm only giving my opinion on this, so my opinion's only worth whatever. It may not be worth a whole lot, but if you trust me enough, then you can say, dude, go into the deep dark cave and explore it for us and give us an answer about what's going on. And they say, you don't have to. I went there so you didn't have to. So you don't. I'm not suggesting that you get Disney Plus. But yeah, that's the only way that you can view it right now is to see it on that. So the third episode, this episode takes place as a flashback 16 years earlier than the first two episodes. And remember, if you think of it as you're doing a detective and he's uncovering who this assassin is and what her motives are to killing, she's killing Jedi. And so why is she killing Jedi? Why is she going around and doing this? And so you as a viewer, even though you do see part of the shows from her point of view, you're also discovering what her motives are and why she's doing that. So as part of this episode 3 comes out and it's showing the backstory of her childhood. And this is the inciting event. This is what turns her basically into an assassin. This is what she is seeking her revenge for, is this particular thing. And the main characters, Osha and May. Osha is the good twin. May is the evil twin.
Wait.
She is the assassin.
They have an evil twin.
Yes, they have an evil twin.
Seriously, they're just like,
yeah.
How many tropes can we use?
Yeah, they're recycling stuff, but that's okay. It does lend
the evil twin.
The evil twin. Disney has never done an evil twin before. So the main characters, Osha and May, live with their two lesbian mothers. And let's just, for reference, I'm going to put them up again. Live with their two lesbian mothers in an all-female witch coven on the planet Brendok. I'm not making this up.
We're still in Star Wars, right?
We are. The coven's leader, Mother Anasea, created the twins without a father, and with another witch, Mother Coral, carried them. Those are the two that we just saw. So she created the girls. And we're not talking about, obviously, you're not talking about in vitro fertilization or any kind of natural copulation, because lo and behold, in homosexuality, you cannot procreate. So she does it using the Force. Now, does that sound familiar to you at all?
We had the whole Anakin thing.
The whole Anakin thing. Right.
But he was supposed to be the chosen one. Now he's not so much the chosen one. He's just one of the chosen things.
And Darth Sidious, who was the Emperor, he got this method of creating life from his master, Darth Plagueis. Okay? I don't know if I'd read the book, I think it was called Darth Plagueis previously. And so this was the lore that was part of Star Wars, that Anakin's mother, she said he had no father, right? That there was basically an immaculate conception.
Mm-hmm.
And so that strikes as being a little bit blasphemous right there, because that's, Jesus, immaculate conception. But they're saying that, no, this was by the Force. It's not God creating, but by the Force is doing this. Okay, so this is the same situation here, that the mothers, the one on the left, created the children, the two twins. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat and see what we got here for these guys. How you guys doing? Yes, evil twins. New concept, totally. We're breaking new grounds here, guys.
We're breaking new grounds. We're just looking at it.
We are.
I'm not taking any responsibility.
I'm not going to spend money on that. Glad you're doing it for us. This is painful. I'm telling you, it was not. When I got to the third episode, I was just like, and there was parts in it. We'll actually dive into it. It's like, no. It was bad. It was evil enough to watch. Seriously, it's starting to get into the whole witchcraft thing. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, the witch coven may or may not have been a connection to the Force users calling themselves the Witch of Dathomir. Yes, I'm going to get into that. So this is not unique. The Night Sisters. We'll get into that a little bit. So yeah, you know your lore there. And then Thomas said, Star Wars used to be based on Eastern mysticism like Taoism, Buddhism. Not sure what it is now. Yes, you guys are following the progression here. So we're seeing what's happening. So Anastasia teaches them. So we had the whole, having this immaculate conception by using the Force. Anastasia teaches them that the Force, which she refers to in this whole, which Coven refers to, not as the Force, but as the thread, is misused by the Jedi. During a ceremony to induct the twins into the Coven, they're going to become witches. May is enthusiastic, but Osha is hesitant. So you got this going on here. They're doing this whole ceremony. It's at night, so the witching hour. And that's where I started looking at this and saying, man, this is really starting to get demonic. Because the way that they're doing this, it's not just... When Star Wars originally came out, the first one, there was like talk about the Force and stuff like that. It was no big deal. Then the second one came out. Not Return of the Jedi. I'm drawing a blank. What's the second?
The Empire Strikes Back.
The Empire Strikes Back. My gosh, I can't believe I forgot that. Yes, The Empire Strikes Back. When that did, you had the whole training from Yoda. Don't shake your head. You had the whole training from Yoda happening, and it's definitely It is, like you said, Eastern mysticism, probably closer to Taoism, because of the working with the Tao, the Force, and you got the yin yang, you got the dark side and the light side. And I remember churches back then, and even our church saying, "Whoa, we may want to put our brakes on this because this is now teaching a different religion and wrapping it in." Sci-fi. Now, sci-fi this is not the first time, and it won't be the last time, that sci-fi introduces new religions. You look at Dune. We did the question about the religions of Dune, and especially Ben Sunniism that was done, and how close that was or was not close to Islam.
Yep.
We had that video. But here we're this is taking a different twist. The Star Wars, from the point of view, from the fans' point of view, this episode not only retcons the story of Darth Plagueis, but also puts itself over Anakin. This predates Anakin.
Yeah.
So this is saying Anakin's an old idea. This whole creating human beings from the Force. This is doing it, and we got twins, and they're girls. So hey, this is even better. We're blowing away. And Anakin is like a main character. I mean, the main character in the original both trilogies. Darth Vader, like he's the guy.
The guy.
So this is trumping that, saying that the Force is actually female, that this is actually doing, they're more sensitive to it and so forth. More importantly, though, from a Christian point of view, we have gone from the Force, like you said, going from the Force, a variation of Eastern religion, Taoism, to what they call the thread in this story, a full-blown form of witchcraft practiced by a hidden lesbian coven. Now, also, like you pointed out before, witchcraft in Star Wars lore is not new, but mixing it with homosexuality is. Star Wars canon and legend, in Star Wars canon and legend, a group known as the Night Sisters were a clan of witches from the planet Dathomir, like you said, you pointed out, Davos. They used a unique form of dark side magic, which differs from the traditional Sith dark side abilities. They were introduced in the 1994 novel The Courtship of Princess Leia by David Wolverton, and they appeared in the TV series Star Wars The Clone Wars, and were featured in a game called Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Have you come across, does that sound familiar to you at all? Because I know you had watched the Clone Wars, right?
The Clone Wars, yeah, not the whole Jedi Fallen Order. I never did anything with that one.
No, but did you come across these?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, it's been
a while.
Okay,
it's been a long.
So they were
while.
called the Night Sisters.
And which Star Wars, which Clone Wars? Because there are two.
Were there?
They're two different series.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
One was really poor graphics. The other one was really good.
I'm only familiar with the one that's better.
I'm not going to tell you which one was better.
So I'm looking at comments again. We got Davos saying the witch coven may or may not have been in connection with the Force users called the Witch of Denethor. Okay, we've already done that. Star Wars, we did that one. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I had a bit of a hard time watching parts of the 3rd episode. So you did watch this?
Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, I'm not kidding.
Sure
I was looking at this and saying, okay, I've seen enough. I need to turn this off. But I went ahead and did this mostly with the witchcraft parts. Absolutely. And this is, this is going to be for kids and stuff like this.
It's trying for kids.
Yeah. Great conversation. Stanley, I got to go to work. Blessings, everyone. Adios. Thomas Hall said, makes Anakin not so special in the original 6. He was the yin-yang messiah, killed the lazy Jedi Republic. He killed the evil emperor, and everything was reset, balanced the Force. Yeah, it was a concept that was new, because I don't know if you say there's so much retconning this, but I believe they are. I believe this is actually going to be changing the background for this, because that was new, unique. Maybe they're going to say later on in this series that Darth Plagueis got his information from these Force users.
This was where he got everything from. He stole it from the lesbian witches.
That could be.
And they are the true source of power.
Right. That's right.
They were the true ones.
Everything else, and in fact, they say this too in the movie or in the
I
series.
haven't watched the series,
so they say that basically, and they give hints to it. They're not saying it just yet. They're giving hints that, listen, the Jedi are actually a twist of what we're doing. We're doing it right. The Jedi are doing it wrong. Actually, she kind of does say that. So now we're going to reframe the Force, and the thread, which is going to be mostly female or all female, is something that is deeper and more powerful, and the correct way to view this, I want to say the Force, but this kind of thing in the universe, their point of view is better than what this. I'm not sure if that's exactly what they're going on this. So
it's just as bad.
What difference does this make, though? I mean, who cares? Well, what if they do promote homosexual relationships? So what if they do promote witchcraft? It's been a part of Disney from almost the day one, right? Big deal. Why is this even worth talking about? I mean, they do this, right? What difference does it make? A huge difference. Disney and even Star Wars philosophy have shaped our culture in a way of thinking for years. Since its release in 1977, Star Wars has had an impact on our culture. And I'm not just talking about the geeks going to a Comic-Con convention, fighting over their autographs from their favorite actors or characters. The influence of Star Wars goes beyond its innovations in filmmaking and storytelling and merchandising. Its cultural impact extends beyond the screen, shaping societal values. I was 10 years old when Star Wars first came out, and I was an instant fan. I saw it 9 times in a theater. Yes, I was and still am probably a geek. And because my brother and I snuck a tape recorder into the theater, I'm making a confession now. I was able to memorize the dialogue from A New Hope. But that's not to say its impact was all. Was you shaking your head about? You probably would have done the same thing.
I remember using tape recorders when I was a kid. These whippersnappers with their phone can instantly record anything. Don't have to know how to sneak something in past security.
Back in my day, we chiseled it onto stone. Yeah, these fancy tape recorders. No. Okay, so actually, we did. True story. All right, but it's impacting. So I was like a huge fan and watched all of them and everything. When the next one came out, the prequels came out, I was all excited about that, and then disappointed with some things and everything like that. But like most kids, I tried to move things with my mind by using some kind of mental force. And like most adults, I grew out of it. But somewhere in the back of our collective philosophy, that kind of thinking stuck. More people now believe in a vague Eastern mysticism than ever before. Movies like this have promoted it with increasing fervor. So this kind of stuff that happened, to say that this doesn't have any impact on, that movies like this don't have any impact on our thinking or philosophy or even politics downstream, because politics is downstream from culture. It does have an impact. And I think as Christians, we need to, first of all, guard ourselves against the type of philosophy that's being shown. And the second of all, have a good answer for those who would present it to say, well, I don't believe in necessarily a God, but I do believe that there is some sort of entity, maybe not so much with a personality, but something out there, some kind of motive, some kind of, it's almost like a pushing, there's a word for this, like it's a pushing
force.
Yeah, something like that. So you will have people that don't want to have anything to do with religion, to say that's all bunk, that's all gone, but I have my own personal thing and do this. So now you can see where some of this, and we need to be able to come up with an answer for this. 1 Peter, make sure I get this right. Oh, I don't see it. Okay. 1 Peter 3:15 says, but in your hearts, honor Christ as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for the reason for the hope that is in you, yet do so with gentleness and respect. So as Christians, we must have an answer against the increasing darkness and moral ambiguity that even our beloved franchises push. Sometimes the answer is to avoid a movie or series altogether. And we did this with the movie Looper. We were originally going to do this movie a while back and review it and say, hey, what's going on with this movie and everything, and dig into it. But then we decided, you know what? It's not, because of all the what was
all the garbage.
There's a lot of garbage.
Drug use, sexual content, violence out the wazoo.
Yeah, it was really gratuitous.
Just absolutely depressive view on humanity. Humanity's worthless. Everything's doomed. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, so we decided that instead of doing that, kind of like a last minute, to say, you know what, we're going to talk about this instead. Choosing what not to watch. At what point should a Christian not watch a movie? And so that's maybe one of the responses that would be in there to do that. So I'm going to take another quick look at the comments here and see what you guys are saying. Thomas Hall said, I think are the characters saying that they are the true way to represent the good guys or the bad guys? We're gonna jump into that in just a minute with this, and then anime is a much bigger influence on kids now than Star Wars, or even Marvel.
Yep, Japanese anime.
Yeah,
it's the way to go.
So we did one anime.
Which one did we do?
We reviewed Sword Art Online.
Oh, SAO, yeah.
Okay, and there was thoughts to do others because of the influence that you're right, Thomas. That is big. And I talked to my kids and saying, hey, what's going on here and what's the biggest thing? And what was one of the reasons why anime is doing so well?
I think one of the main reasons, at least in my opinion, would be that they'll do a set of 12 episodes, and they are willing to do crazy concepts.
Mm-hmm.
By that, I mean, like, reincarnation is one of the big things in it, because it's coming from the Eastern side. So they'll have reincarnation into a new world. And like one that just came out not too long ago was he's reincarnated into this new world. Now he can live his life, the life he always wanted as a farmer. And the whole thing is him farming in this fantasy world. Well, then there's like Otherworld Pharmacy that's like, his whole objective is just to make pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
He's there mixing together chemicals, and that's the entire thing. It's him going across the world to mix chemicals together. They're willing to try new things for 12 episodes and just throw something out there.
And see what sticks.
And it gives it's refreshing because it's different in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So not the same rut.
Right. Yeah. So that's one of the things that we talked about during that live stream, is to say that here, at least maybe in Japan, you could try these new creative things, see what works and what doesn't, these new stories, and you can see what's coming out of Hollywood right now. Sequels, prequels, remakes, reboots. there's nothing really. When I went to the theater to see the most recent movie that we were reviewing, there was 12 or 13 previews, quite a few. All but 2 were either sequels or prequels or reboots. I'm thinking, what, no one's going to want to see this. And the theater was mostly empty. Oof. So I could see where anime then is at least got some new traction because there's some new stories there.
About Farmer in Another World.
I don't know. What was that about the vending machine? There was something.
There's a vending machine. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's a reincarnated in a new world as a vending machine. And his whole thing is, I'm just a vending machine.
But there's also ones they come out with a lot of, like, they talk about demons.
Oh yeah, they have a very Satan. Twisted perspective on demons. It's Eastern theology, not Christian theology, even though they'll use some of the same terms.
And it may not be bad for us to delve into that. Although what's we were looking at, there wasn't some of the violence and some of the other stuff that's in there. It might be over the top, but maybe it would be good to say, hey,
well, they got like a different, because again, it's a different culture, so they have different sensibilities to it. So what it would be acceptable there may not be acceptable here, or what would be considered a joke and funny there might be considered kind of crude here.
Okay. Yeah. That may not be a bad thing to delve into, to say, listen, this is where a lot of the especially the kids are going. Maybe we should take a deeper look at some of these and say, all right, what new concepts and philosophies are being introduced, and how do we respond and counter to some of them? How do we keep our guard up, and so forth? And if you want to be relevant, talking to the kids too, you should probably be aware of what they're watching, what's going on out there. Thomas, he's got a couple more comments here I want to bring up. Last Jedi finally killed Star Wars for me. I was torn. On the one hand, you ruined my love childhood story. The other one, yeah. If you're going to burn it down all the way, go all the way. We have a better story anyway. Dark isn't equal. It's the absence of light. Good. Yep. Good. And actually, that's partly where we're going to be heading with this too. I stopped watching some of this stuff, some of these franchises that we're doing. I stopped watching Doctor Who. I stopped watching some of this stuff that's coming out for Star Trek. Although I heard the Star Trek Picard series, the 3rd season was actually pretty good, or at least tolerable.
That's the measuring.
That's now the measuring stick.
I can hold my nose well enough to watch it.
That's right. I can kind of blink through the stink and kind of say, okay, there's a good story. But you don't want to see them ruin your good characters. So I just stand back and said, you know what? I just want to remember those characters as they were, and not as they are in their old, decrepit, last days breathing. And so there is hope. We're going to get to the hope. We're not just bemoaning this. There is hope for this, and we're going to get to that in a minute. So let's take a look at, so as Christians, we must have an answer for this. Sometimes the answer is to engage. Sometimes the answer is, like I said, in the showing the thumbnails for the previous live stream that we did, sometimes the answer is to say, I'm not even going to watch. I'm going to back out. It's done. I do not need it's that bad. There's no redeeming qualities to this at all. There's nothing that can be done with it. Sometimes the answer is to engage, so we can find a Christian message within the story and use that as a kind of parable to point people towards Jesus. And that's what we do most of the time in our live streams. Other times, the answer is to engage so that we can give an alternative or a defense to the viewpoints and morals presented. And that's what I would like to do today, because the viewpoints in this story and the morals in this story seep into our culture, and we've got to weed them out. So let's take a look at some of the quotes from this series and figure out a good response. Here's the first one here. And this is from Mother Anastasia in response to the girls arguing about whether the Jedi are good or bad. So the 2 girls, and this is when they're younger. This is during the whole flashback episode 3 thing. They're going back and forth and they're talking. And she says, their witch mother, and she's also the leader of the coven. She's the head witch. She says, it isn't about good or bad. It's about power and who's allowed to use it. So this...
Wow. Disney's really pulling back the shades on that one.
So does this remind you of any philosophy today?
Can you pull that back up just a second? So moral relativism, it's all relative.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. And the second part's what gets me. So that's the first part, fine, whatever. It's the second part. It is about power. So control. And who is allowed to use it. These are Sith.
It's cultural Marxism too. Right?
Yeah, these are
it's the will to power. It's who has the power to do things. You have a certain ethnic group that you say we need to reduce the power of this ethnic group, right? Because it has too much. We have people who are cisgendered. We need to remove their power and spread it around. It's all about power. It's not about truth. It's not about right and wrong. It's about power. And this is really up that alley. Now,
extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Extremely dangerous concept if that is your driving mentality there.
Now, they're not necessarily saying in the show that these people are good or bad. This coven, they're not saying they're good or bad. They're just putting them out there and showing them, right? But this mother is very loving for her twins. She's not actually, I guess, I don't know what her relationship would actually be, but she's very loving and attentive and training and does all these things for the twins and self-sacrificing for the twins. So there's all the good mother-like qualities that are there. But yeah, that philosophy is terrible. Thomas said, there you go. Social justice, a Christian heresy. It couldn't exist without Christian ethics. Somebody once said that, I think it was Ben Shapiro, said that anytime that you tack a modifier or an adjective to justice, it's no longer justice.
Yeah.
Whether it's like social justice, it's justice just by itself. When you add that adjective to it, you're tilting the scales of justice. You're making it more one or the other. You're pulling back the blinds of justice. You got the statue of justice holding the scale, and she's blindfolded because it doesn't matter who's there. It's what the circumstances and the events are. That's what makes the difference. And you pull back that blind, you peek through and say, oh, it's this identity group, and therefore I'm going to tilt the scale for this or the other. Anytime you modify justice, you are tilting that scale and making it uneven. And Sherry, welcome, Sherry. She says the mother's loving actions are more about control, not goodness. She doesn't seem to be very manipulative. Actually, quite the opposite with her position. One of the twins decides that she wants to be a Jedi, and instead of micromanaging and controlling, she lets the child go, much to her chagrin, and to make the child to make her own choice. And that was Osha wanted to be a Jedi, and so the mother said, "Go ahead." And that was, I believe, the right choice. And so she doesn't seem to be a controlling, overbearing personality here.
It seems that they are painting her as a loving individual who is, in fact, even though she says there is no good or bad, but good in a sense.
Right. Yeah. So again, I'm going to put this first quote up because what we're doing is, and I got to get rid of this. Sorry, guys. Thank you. There. Okay. So this quote. This flies. It's a problem of living on a farm. It flies. This isn't about good or bad. It's about power and who to use it. So that was the first quote. Let's look at the second quote that she said here, and I want to see what you guys think about this. All living things are connected, and she's giving instructions about the thread. So this is their view of the Force. We're calling it the thread. All living things are connected by the same thread. A thread woven through all existence. Some call it a force and claim to use it, but we know the thread is not a power we wield. Pull the thread, change everything. It ties you to your destiny. It binds you to others. So I think that somewhere she makes this one part here. It says, some call it a force and claim to use it, but we know the thread is not a power we wield. So does the force, and this is something we can ask just in general about the main concept of the force itself. Does the force have a will?
Yes, according to at least the old Star Wars, yes. I don't know nowadays.
Okay, so I think the prequel Star Wars, yes, but the original it was just this mindless force that's out there that can be pushed and pulled, and you can, by your mind, manipulate this unseen force.
Yes.
But then in the prequel, they introduced midichlorians, and they also said something about it has a will. It was like, this is the destiny of the force. It's the
will of the force.
The will of the force, right? I don't know. That might have been in the original series as well, but there is a will there. So now we're talking about like an entity. Now they're little individual midichlorians that maybe there's a hive mind or something that's going on there. But now we're getting into an actual God. Because if you have a will, you have a motive, right?
Yep. You have a great plan.
You have a plan. So there's a mind behind this. And a mind may or may not have a personality associated, probably. And we're talking about a person.
And by the sound of this witch's covenant, it's the person is everything, in everything, and is everything, and
pantheism.
Yep.
Yeah. That this might roll into it a little bit more. So, okay. The Pocahontas philosophy. Oh, do you know what she's talking about with that?
No.
I'm thinking that you're probably talking about the Disney's version of Pocahontas, the animated story that goes with that. I'm guessing you're talking about that.
I assume something along those lines, but it's been forever
since I watched Sherry, you'll probably have to give us more of a background for that, because I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about with it. Thomas said, makes sense pulling the thread and using it. Maybe.
Yeah, make sense unwinding everything.
They probably will develop this further in the series as things come out. I'm done with the series. I'm not going to watch it more. When they have the Witch Coven and seeing that, I'm not going to suggest that anybody watch it. And Christian, forget it. They went over. They crossed the Rubicon with this. They went over the edge, in my opinion. And I wouldn't even. Don't even pay for this. Don't fund it at all. The last quote. Oh, so this is. I understand what you're saying about you're referring to this last quote as you're saying it's the Pocahontas theory, but I'm not sure. Okay. I think maybe in the Pocahontas story we're talking about Native American religion or philosophy that's in there, or perhaps that's what you're pointing out. It's a lot easier when we talk in person. So Thomas said, that's what witchcraft is, changing reality to your own will. Yeah, so it's the concept of metaphysics is that I can do something to force either an entity or something in the universe to make things happen. If I do a certain ritual, it's going to rain. If I sacrifice my child, I'm going to have better crops. If I kill my child, I'm going to be able to have a better career. And I'm sorry, that's modern.
No, yeah,
modern. Okay, modern witchcraft. But there's some stuff in the past there too. So this is metaphysics. It makes things happen through unseen realm. These are actually my notes. Makes things happen through the unseen realm without accountability, and it's morally ambiguous. So taking a step further, Thomas, from what you said, it is you're forcing things happen in the unseen realm, and you're not really necessarily responsible for your actions. There's really no moral right or wrong here.
No.
Like she said in the first quote, it's all gray. And I think that's what they're looking at this in this series, is saying this witch coven, it's not good or bad. It's just different.
Then why do they call it a witch coven?
Because it's a group.
Because they could have named it anything, but they chose that name.
Yeah. So they did, just like with So there's all the connotations of the term witch. You could have, you're right, in a science fiction.
You could have invented something completely different. I mean, Jedi. You could have completely invented some other sort of classification. No, you chose that name. Right. You chose that concept because there is already a connotation with it. There's already an inference on it. You don't like that's negative, and you want to turn it to something positive or neutral.
Correct. Absolutely.
And that's why you chose it.
Yep. Not only that term witch, but also coven and the other mechanics that are going on. When they had that ritual at midnight, or it looked like it was midnight, it was definitely at night. I said, "Oh man, this is really getting into the demonic," because they're forcing stuff in. They've got these two girls there that are there during this process as well. So yeah, lots of fun. So that's what it is, witchcraft, changing these things, and then not being morally ambiguous and not accountable for your actions. So now we're going to look at quote number 3 from her and say, how do we respond to this? We're going through all these quotes, and this is coming out. We're looking at this show analytically and saying, whoa, what's this bringing up? Well, I'm putting up my filter, my guard, and saying, now, is this creeping into people's mentality that witchcraft is good, Christianity is bad, witchcraft is freeing, it's empowering, Christianity is suppressing, it's patriarchal. If you really want to get in touch with your feminine side or whatever, to be able to delve into this type of thing versus the other. The third quote is, the galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us, witches who have the abilities that we do. I'm not going to keep making any comments. I'm just going to look and see what you guys have to say about this.
No, I think it's in line with what I was just saying.
Which is what?
This came with an agenda.
It came with an agenda. What
agenda? You chose witches. You chose the witch covenant to change the concept, to try to push that change in the culture, to normalize it and make it neutral or even good.
Okay.
Because again, it's like we are isolated. We are the victims here. The witches are the victims. We are
the victims of whom? Who is victimizing them?
Question. In that quote, that would just be the universe itself, just this vague concept of, I guess, everyone else.
Okay, well, in specifically in this, not that you haven't seen the series, I have. They're talking specifically about the Jedi suppressing them. They have to hide. They have to do this because the Jedi it's supposed to be regulated. Okay, so this is big government coming in basically and saying, you are not allowed to use these magical abilities. You're not allowed to use the Force unless you're licensed basically with the Jedi. You're part of the Jedi. So we can control this so it doesn't get out of hand, because this can be, you're a mutant, and not really, but somewhere along those lines. You're a mutant. We need to put a number on you. We need to get you identified. And these women are doing this on their own in this corner, not coming down on women in particular, but saying this group is doing this on their own. They're Force users and they're unlicensed, and they're teaching children how to do this. So we got to get the children out of there. And these guys are bad and they need to be regulated.
Well, to be honest with you, I know you use the term women. You're like, I'm not coming down on women, but you don't have much other option. That is it.
That's what the group is, right?
That's it, and that's by the design of the original.
Right,
by the
right. But I was just saying in that context right there, I wasn't coming down on that. So I'm going to see what the comments here are. Yes, Andrew Martin mentions Disney destroying itself. This is just another step, and we could look at. We could do a whole series on what's happening with Disney, what's happening in Hollywood. But there's enough other people that are doing. There's enough other YouTubers that are focused on that. What I'm going to be looking at, and we're done with this, is where's the positive side? There really is a positive side to all this. And Christianity It's Christianity that gave women rights. Yeah, in our culture, in Western culture, you could see that coming through because of Christianity, the influence of Christianity doing that, the influence of Christianity also with the slavery abolition movements, the influence with that. My namesake, John Newton, you can look at Amazing Grace and his influence with turning around, a former slave trader, and then doing all the work that he did. So there is the positive influence of Christianity. That's largely forgotten in our culture too, is that it's actually flipped around the other way, looked at as being negative. There were Christians that were slave owners. There were Christians that were, there were people that were using verses in the Bible to support that. But by and large, the freedom of slavery and women's rights came through Christianity. Pagans bemoaning the patriarchy. Yes. And we needed new stories on our side, and no one likes propaganda. It needs to not explicitly be Christian, i.e. Lord of the Rings. Dude, okay. All right. This is plug time. It is entirely plug time. Where the heck did this come from? Okay, so I'm going to take this opportunity to say, and I'm going to mention this later again too. This is why we as Christians then need to take this time to say, I believe we have made a mistake in giving up the arts, because with the arts you shape culture, you shape the way that people think, and you can lose a cultural battle if you're not engaged on the art side. And so I have this short story here. I have four short stories that are coming out once every month: July, August, September, October, and then November. There's a novel that's going to be coming out, and then we'll see what happens after that. But this is going to be the first of the four short stories, Taste of Earth. And I'll talk about this a little bit later. If you're at all interested in being an advanced reader, I can get you a copy, and then when this comes out July 1st, if you I can give you an advanced copy in exchange for an honest review. In other words, what you do is you would post your review on Amazon or Kobo or Barnes & Noble or Goodreads or whatever platform is out there, as many as you like, and that would help then promote this. I would ask that if you're going to give it a 1, that you decide not to do that for my sake, but I don't think so. I think you're going to really like this. This story actually did win a Reader's Choice Award when it came out. There's in an anthology a while back. So it is. I think this is one of the better short stories that I've had. This is how we make a difference. We start to change culture. And your comment here that you made, let me get rid of this. Your comment that you made in saying that this is where, wow, not the one I was looking for. Okay, not necessarily. In these stories, it's not necessarily the salvation message, of Romans Road, and everything that's put there, but you do have this one. There's some deep philosophy. This is more like a C.S. Lewis type of thing. With, I don't want to give it too much away, but there is some thoughts about salvation for aliens. Let me just put that in there, and there's some deep thinking that goes into it. But we need to be able to tell stories, good stories, clean stories, ones that are out there that people can grab a hold of. And Christians are taught, put it in a good light. They're not just the weird Southern, we're just going to go ahead and shoot them in the name of the Lord because we're going to kill everyone. None of that junk that's going out there. So you are 100%, Thomas. This is where we have the opportunity to make a difference. And yeah, we got totally agree there. And I still want to show on how you and YBC draw the line. Islam is gross. Prove me wrong.
It's gross. Prove me wrong.
So if I understand correctly, if I remember correctly, you were the one who was suggesting, say, hey, do a live stream or a video or whatever on venturing into these dark places, and how do you keep yourself from from either going mad or not being soiled by this stuff, especially with some of the stuff that you do with Islam. It's like,
it gets crazy.
Yeah. It was like that watching this third episode. Man, no. If I were just doing myself, I would have turned it off a long time ago. I wouldn't watch it. Now that the live stream I pointed out earlier that we did about where we draw the line, that's part of it. That's if you haven't seen that one, that's not one that you can refer to. Thomas Hall is lame is anti-Christianity. I don't know if I got that one. I found it on a river in South American in Australia, 49 pages. Okay. I guess I don't know if you're referring to a book or something like that. So let's take a quick look at a poll that we put out. We took a poll that asked, has Disney ruined Star Wars franchise? And I want to take a look at some of the viewer comments on this. Adjust this so we can see it a little bit better, possibly. Why or why not? Now, 78% said yes, that Disney has ruined the Star Wars franchise, and 22% said no. I was surprised that there was even to 22, and I would be very curious to find out why people did vote no on this. So going through some of the, and I'm going to skip the first one here because I think that was, I don't know if you necessarily wanted that out there for everyone. The first one says, this is from Joshua Wood, and he says, yes, the interviews alone show the franchise in decay and Star Wars IP has been destroyed for a while now. Michael Knowles said it the best. The original 3 and the 3 prequels were pretty good, great, and all the ones after slowly declined, and now it's a hollow carcass as to a once great IP. Disney in general is a shell of its former self. Davos is, I don't know where this guy is. Have you ever heard of this guy before?
Davos?
Yeah, or Isgul. Disney did make Davos. Maybe it's Davos. I keep saying Davos. Disney did make great, some good Star Wars projects. A lot of their shows were good, but not everything they made was good. And I'm looking at you, Force Awakens. The only ones that I think that were really good was Rogue One, I would say, is up there. Was there anything else that you would say, in your opinion, that came out of Star Wars
recently?
Disney Star Wars. I thought Rogue One was good. Some people don't like that.
Care for
you didn't care for it?
I didn't much care.
I thought it was okay. Good. I thought it was really good.
I'd say the prequels probably you got the first 3 said those were golden. Then you got the prequels, which are like, could have used improvement. And then you got Clone Wars, which is pretty decent.
Clone Wars, yeah.
But then after that is all fall apart.
Yep. So I want to keep going through this as quickly as I can. Disney, this is from John Paul. Disney has failed me time and time again to realize who their core audience is. Spoiler alert, it's middle-aged men who grew up with Star Wars. Disney now creates stories for anyone but middle-aged men. Why they are surprised when the people who used to love Star Wars don't anymore. I always thought my son and I would watch all the new Star Wars stuff together, but he doesn't like the new Star Wars either. Good luck on trying to sell Star Wars to people who don't give a crap about Star Wars. Yeah, I think this is pretty much on. One of the arguments against this, Disney is saying, look, we're looking for a newer audience. If you want
the older one pays so good,
well, eventually they're going to die out, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you see, the issue with that is they become your spokesperson though for the next generation.
I think the bigger question is why not let it die out?
Well, in my opinion, they literally had the easiest job of any writers ever.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, when they took over Star Wars and did the new 3 movies, before that point, they had the easiest job ever. They had so many stories out there that were already beloved by so many people, written by fans, for fans.
Oh, yeah.
All they had to do is maybe take 2 of those stories.
Yeah, look for the most popular ones that are out there and turn them into film. That's all they had to do.
That hire the guy, whoever wrote it originally, give him credit for him, parade him around, make him part of the movie. I mean, that's what this guy wanted, right? He wanted to be part of Star Wars. That's why he's writing some of this stuff. And boom, he now becomes your fan. He becomes everyone basically sees themselves in him. All your Star Wars fans sees himself in him, and maybe eventually he'll write Star Wars story that would get him up there too. And you got a huge following for that, big as can be. It blows up.
So there's
something easy.
I from a monetary standpoint, I don't understand why they did this. From a darkness of who's really in control, I can understand why it was done.
Oh yeah, but it's still incredibly stupid.
It is. So, I don't know how to, if you can even pronounce this. Tidich 4929 said, when the seven movie is just a modern reshoot of the fourth movie, you know that you're in for a bad time. Lazy writing to the extreme.
It didn't have to be that lazy.
Yeah.
It was just couldn't be that easy anyway.
That's right. And I've got a couple of comments here that want in the chat currently want to bring up. The agenda is more important than money. Yes, I would have to say that because it's that obvious. I mean, everybody's saying, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? This is stupid. You know, yes, they know this, but there's an agenda. And there's also people that are funding this to provide any money for the shortfall to say, keep doing this. You're heading the culture in the right way, but it's not. So I think we got a new commenter here. Nathaniel Anderson says, what's Acolyte? Dude, I'm sorry. You had to rewind to the beginning.
No, you're better off not knowing. You're better off for not knowing.
It is Star Wars Disney. It is Star Wars The Acolyte. It is now on Disney Plus, and they have just released the third episode. It's episodic. The third episode was on Tuesday night. So a couple of nights ago, they just reveal it. And then he says, oh, right, I don't care. Commenting for the algorithm. Keep it up. Way to go, dude. Way to go.
So
Way to go.
Today.
All
right, I love that one.
Yeah. I did that on purpose. Okay. All right. So next comment that we have in here. Now, this is on our poll. It was Joy, user J. Is this Thomas? I don't know if it's Thomas Hall or not because it is just anyway. Better question might be, could it be a good thing that Star Wars is ruined? I think so. It's a great question, and we'll be on, God willing. Okay, so will it be ruined? And this is what we're talking about. We're going to do so we're done with this comment. I promise we're going to get into this and dig deeper. And then finally, the last comment here was from I'm Tall 31. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Not everything they made is terrible, just a lot of it. And then we commented about which ones. What's that?
Just have a comment. I think he protests too much.
Protest too much?
Yes. I'm tall. No one asked you.
Therefore,
that makes me wonder.
Therefore, he's short. Okay. Yeah. So these are all coming in. Now, here we have it. So we're not bemoaning how the good old days are gone, like bitter old curmudgeons snapping at children and preaching how the better days will never return. We're finding new ways of communication. That's why we're possibly, I don't know, might delve more into anime here in coming days. Finding new ways of communication, ways to wake up a dying world, to tell them that hope is within reach because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. You have this right here. It's within reach. You can just reach out and grab it. A devastated Hollywood and entertainment industry should encourage us and not depress us because it opens the door for us to make a bigger impact. This is our new hope. Hollywood cannot seem to get out of the funk of prequels and sequels and rebooted series. Satan cannot create. He can only twist and destroy. Look at the Daily Wire and Angel Studios producing new material. Look at The Chosen in movies like The Shift, which we did a review on. God does not call the church to spectate, but to participate. And that's why I produce these videos, and that's why I am producing stories and getting them out there. And so once again, I'm going to put this up. This is talking about Taste of Earth. If you have any desire to be an advanced reader, I'm going to have signups available better than I do right now. I'm working on it right now for advanced reader copy. But if you want to get a jump start on this, you can go to my Patreon site. You do not need to sign up as a paid Patreon supporter. It is in the description. The sign up for it is there. And that will, if I see any new ones, that will give me your email, because you don't want to put your email here on the comment section. That'll give me your email. And then I'll ask some questions to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Is this something that you want to do to help participate? And if you read it, I'll give you this advanced version. If you read it, put up the review. That's the agreement. I'm not asking for ones. I'm not asking for 5 stars here, because that would be in contradiction to Amazon and other distributors' policies. I'm asking for honest reviews. If you think it stinks, I prefer you not say it, but you can say it. And we'll go from there. So check in the comments one last time. You kids get off my... Okay, I need to put this up here.
You kids get off my lawn!
Thank you. It's better coming from you, Rocks anxiously. Better coming from you than from me, because I fit that bill a little bit more than you do. Yes, look at it. I look at it as being a great positive that the world has gone nuts. It always has. You know, C.S. Lewis said, the closer you get to the end of an age, the more obvious it is who is serving God and who is not. And if you're there giving a message toward Christ, if you're there shining the light is going to be that much brighter if the world grows darker. So there really is a positive message here to this, to say that if that giant falls, because look at how big Disney is in itself. It just gobbled the blob just gobbling up everything around. Look what it did to Pixar. It took this franchise that was producing stuff like really good and sucked the life out of it. The last thing that Pixar did, what was it? Oh my gosh, I don't remember the name of it. They came out with it, just a total flop. They're not producing anything of value anymore. It's like this husk that's had its life sucked out of it. So if that monster dies, then that opens up the territory for a lot more. You know, like I said, Daily Wire and all these others to do what they're doing, and other people to produce things. We can do this. I'm a Star Wars fan, by the way. I've read 300. Dude, you are a super fan. Okay, so you put me to shame. I've only been a fan since. Okay, I'm not going to go that back. I don't consider Disney Star Wars to be legit.
I agree.
And the more I read the Bible, the less interested in Hollywood.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we can produce material ourselves. We don't have to go to this trough. We can produce alternatives and get them out there.
Well, real quick here with this comment, it's very interesting as you dive into scripture, grow as a Christian. I really see the authentic story, the authentic life that's offered through Christianity. Everything else just loses flavor. You start seeing everything else for the hollow thing it is. The empty thing it is. I mean, all the stories coming out of Hollywood, just empty. Stories that promise you, earthly pleasures and all this stuff. Another aspect would be even like going back to Islam, going back to the whole heaven in Islam. It's like it's just sex, drugs, and
rock and roll.
Pleasures.
Rock and roll.
No rock and roll. That's haram. No rock and roll. Everything else, yeah. But yeah, it's just it does not appeal to me.
Yeah.
Their heaven, their ideal does not appeal to me because I have this promise of the relationship with Christ.
Yeah, and the ideal of that paradise is a twisted version of the pleasures here, taken to an extreme. If you can take these earthly pleasures to a monstrous extreme where God did intend this to be pleasurable experience. It did intend to be there to be a lot of joy, singing. All this here is part of his plan. Let's just take eating, for example. Eating is pleasurable, but it can be taken to a monstrous extent that you're overeating or overindulging in certain types of just like sweets, just over too much, and it becomes destructive. That's like that version of heaven or paradise in Islam, and in a lot of people's minds too. It's like, well, I won't be able to. No, we cannot imagine what the Lord has in store for us after this. And I'm telling you, it's not just going to be strumming hearts floating on clouds. It's going to be a lot more than we can ever possibly imagine, because we can't even conceive. It's like 4 dimensions of space and 3 dimensions of time all wrapped up together, colors beyond our comprehension, all this. And not just sitting there enjoying it, but having a purpose that's even greater than a purpose here. He's training us for this. You look at how the development of the fruits of the Spirit is there. That's more important than riches. How the kingdom of heaven is like. He just gives all these examples of what the kingdom of heaven is like. It's going to be relationships. It's going to be all these things wrapped up together. And that's what's in store for us. Where the enemy would just have us focus on playing in the mud, compared to what that C.S. Lewis said in the I keep quoting him.
Weight of Glory.
The Weight of Glory. Thank you. You know what I'm going with this.
Oh yeah.
I use this all the time. Is that we get so focused on some of the minor things here. It's not that we don't like pleasure enough. I mean that we. What is the quote?
Our desire for pleasure. It's not that our desire for pleasure is too great, but that's too weak.
There you go. Thank you. That we end up being like kids who are satisfied with playing in the mud when we have an opportunity for vacation at the beach. There is so much more in store for us. And that's for Christians. I said in the last video that earth is the only heaven unbelievers will ever know. And this is the only hell that believers will ever know. This is the worst that it gets for us. It gets better from here on out. So bottom line is that we need to be careful in what we call entertainment. We are to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. How do we love God with our minds?
What we think, what we put in it.
Okay.
What we're watching, what we're engaging with, how we are approaching subjects.
Right. Expanding, exercising, and also keeping ourselves pure or unsoiled by a lot of the garbage that's out there. Loving God with all our minds. So I'm going to take a quick look at the chat before we wrap it up. He said, Nathaniel says, well, also there's crazy stuff happening all through. God walking with his people in a pillar of fire. That's terrifying and amazing. Yeah, that all opens it up. And one of the most useless innovations by governments. What are we talking about? What I must have missed something here. He's not talking about fire. He's not talking about, I don't know, Star Wars. Okay. So we have coming up soon, next week. Now we're going to be doing another watch party. We've got to be careful with these watch parties.
Someone used too many clips.
I triggered the automatic, what would you call that? Copyright protection algorithm that's looking for material that's there.
The one that doesn't understand fair use at all?
No. I believe that in our last after party that we had on Tuesday nights, it was really good. Really great interaction. Sherry was there. She got on screen. We're going to do the same thing. Invite you guys to come on screen and everything like that to interact with us. We'll review Interstellar together. So that's the idea. We're going to review Interstellar together. Not actually with the clips this time, because it was really good. We had all these clips and we were looking through and we stepped through the movie and everything like that. But it's not going to be available. I mean, it was a really good live stream.
It was available for those who watched it live.
Yeah, we got a lot of views on it. It was fantastic.
Hey, guys, you got to watch it live. That's my point.
That's true. Before it gets taken,
before they get it, before
it gets taken down. So I'm not going to be doing the clips like I did last time, although that was a lot of fun. We will talk about it though. So if you have seen Interstellar already, please bring your comments and your views. What we're doing though, as a group, I'm not going to be like today we weren't doing as much, but we usually look for Christian themes within movies. We're going to be doing that together with Interstellar. Are there any deeper Christian themes, any things that we could use as parables to reach a dying world? And then we are also taking a look at it theatrically. So we're gonna do this as a group together. If you have not seen Interstellar, and I can't believe you would call yourself a sci-fi fan and not seeing Interstellar, I'm coming down hard on you right now. Said you are.
But you said you said last time you haven't watched it. Have you watched it since the last live stream?
No, I haven't watched it yet. So my kids have been telling me, Dad, you got to watch this. So I'm gonna watch it. And we did have the poll, and
I know you guys a bunch of.
It was either Arrival or Interstellar, and it was
I don't know anything about Arrival, but I know about Interstellar. Like,
it was like landslide.
I don't have
Everybody
to watch
said
this again.
Everybody said Interstellar was kind of a landslide. So we're gonna do that. If you have not seen it, watch it, and then bring your comments. Come next Tuesday night, 8 p.m. So we're doing this in the morning to catch one crowd, and we're doing it in the evening to catch another crowd because people have different work hours and different time zones. We're talking to people around the world, people as far away as Australia. You know, we got 3 people from Jupiter who called in. It's been fantastic. So
I must have missed that live stream.
Yes. Nope, not even close there, buddy. All right, so watched Interstellar. It was okay until they had Crazy go back in time to your bookshelf. The Crazy.
He still hasn't watched it. I know what you're talking about. Don't spoil
it, man. Don't spoil it.
But he hasn't watched it yet.
So
I think we might be on the same page.
Yeah. So if you can take care of the Yahoo here in the chat, who is. Yeah, we got somebody in chat who is being an idiot, so we're gonna be taking care of that. If the bottom line is we need to guard our minds, and then if we're gonna love the Lord our God with our mind, we need to guard our minds as well. I watched the first 3 episodes of this and the Acolyte, and I wish I hadn't. Just scrub it from all memory. So we're going to be doing Interstellar come next Tuesday, and then we have a follow-up coming on Thursday that I'm looking forward to too. It's not revealed yet, but I'm going to reveal it then later when we have that. So again, thank you for all the interaction. You guys are what makes this channel what it is. You guys are making the interaction that we have with you is spectacular, and looking for more of it in the future. Until then, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week.